Well, hello for the fourth time today. It's been a very glad day today. A very gladder day. I'm glad it wasn't a Saturday. I don't like Saturdays. I like gladder days. I try to have a gladder day at least once a week. And I try to have no Saturdays. I've never seen a Saturday. Only glad. Alright, enough of my stupid humor. I've got new strings on this fucking thing. And I've been torturing myself and this guitar for many moons, it seems. Playing with five strings, playing with like three of them are like repaired and one of them's missing. It's just like straight up to ghetto, just barely hanging by threads, just gimped out guitar status or whatever, just conditions. It hasn't been optimal. Oh, I gotta make sure I'm not. Oh, fuck. Am I on the Bluetooth? Well, not like anybody's watching me. Not that anybody cares what I'm doing. I think it should have volume now. Hopefully someone will show up. Hopefully get at least one viewer that can come in and be like, yeah, I can hear you. Now I gotta go. I don't want to hear you, but I can. I'll make you regret that position, that stance. I'll make you wish that you stuck around and heard the live music that I'm about to play on my brand new strings on my brand old guitar, the one I gave to my girlfriend. And then I kind of just kept playing it. It's called a Dean. Dean. I have a friend named Dean that sometimes likes to stop by. Maybe he'll stop by and say hi. Dean lives over in the Europe side of the world. I'm over here in California. And I find it so fanciful is that Dean, he he was able to spot some of the good songs that he thinks that I wrote that resonate with him, and he was like, that's a good song. And so he just went ahead and started covering a couple of my songs because he goes out and busks over in Europe places. I don't know exactly where he's from. He's not over here on this continent. He's far, far away across the pond. And he was playing my 5G song that I wrote, and he was playing Hey Jack, Did You Get Your Job Back song that I made up. It was the only two songs he covered of mine. But I was so flattered. I'm like, man, my music is going worldwide, baby. Yeah, thanks, Dean. Gotta love that Dean. Dean HD. Shout out to Dean HD. You probably find him. He's the guy that's got the Calvin, the Calvin and Hobbes cartoon or whatever. Hobbes. He's got the kid. I forget which one the kid was. Was Calvin the kid or was the tiger there? No, he's got the tiger. Whatever. He's got one of the Calvin and Hobbes guys as a screen pick. Dean HD. I'm trying to summon Dean HD. Where are you, Dean HD? High definition Dean. I'm playing my Dean. It's got brand new strings. Look at that thing. It's just gonna sound so choice. Because when you torture yourself for long periods of time and you don't put new strings on your guitar and you're just lazy and procrastinating the chore of going into town and buying strings, coming back home from town and taking off the old crappy strings and putting on the new ones, it's such a daunting task to go spend $7 and fucking, it's really not that daunting of a task. I just tend to like fucking wait till just, I can't wait any longer. I finally broke one of my five strings today. I'm like, that does it. I'm going to buy a new set of strings. This is pathetic. I'm supposed to be a guitar player. Look, my fucking guitar playing ethics are fucking flawed. Gotta fix that. I gotta get back on track. And now I got all six strings. I'm ready to let this thing sing. It's all tuned up, all proper. Now I just need someone who wants to hear. I get some people that stop by. They're like, oh, not this guy. See you later. Gotta go. Looked interesting for a second, but whoa. This guy's not this guy again. I might sound bitter and jaded, but I'm not. I don't know that I'd want to watch me if I saw me playing online. I'd probably be amused. I'd be like, this guy, he's pretty laid back. At least it's real. I'm not like trying to sell you something. I'm not trying to fill your ear with propaganda and fucking trying to convince you of some shit that isn't even real. I argue from a position of truth and just the stuff that you can't really debate, you can't shake a stick at. I like taking those stances because you can't shake a stick at it. You can sit there and try and shake a stick at it all day, but it's just not going to do nothing because I take the stance that is just irrefutable. Like the fact that the Earth is a level planar realm. It's planar, as in like level, as in it doesn't. The Earth's surface cannot form a spherical shape the way they tell us it does. No, because of this, the Earth presents itself as a planar realm, meaning everywhere we go on Earth, all of us all at once, we can travel, we'll always be experiencing the same level plane under our feet. Now, we're supposed to believe that that same level plane wraps around and forms a huge ball shape. But that's just, we're not busy experiencing that or witnessing that. Just our objective reality, for what it's worth, is that of a planar realm. And because of this, because that is kind of a big caveat to throw into your whole situation as far as explaining reality is concerned. Like, it might look like a big level plane, but it's actually a big curving ball. You're just too small to be able to tell. And then you're sitting there going, well, really? Like, well, so wait. And then it's like, the curvature of the earth, things vanishing in the distance, like the sun or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, that seemed like that might have been evidence of the ball earth. But then you start to learn about the optics of things and how, like, perspective and the vanishing point. And, it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, are we just reverse engineering perspective and optics where it's like, it seems like there's a lot of sort of the globe model of Earth. It's packed full of little caveats, little excuses, and little, you know, just little scientisms you got to like just sort of accept without being able to actually go measure it yourself, and empirically like prove it to yourself. Where it's like, okay, now I believe the Earth's surface forms a sphere and it's rotating at this rate and it's orbiting at this rate. I can go measure all those things myself with empirical measurements. Where it's like there's no like formulas and mathematics, that's swirling around where you just have to, okay, well, the math says this is what's happening. And even though you can't feel it or measure it with any devices that we have, any of our most sensitive equipment, it's true because the math shows you based on our observations of the sky and the math formulas. That's not empirical science. That's just storytelling. And, math. You can use math to tell a story. Of course you can. But when it comes to empirically measuring something, that means you have to actually get out there, boots on the ground, and go fucking measure it, and like have some way of you know getting a value, like in some meaningful way where you can show that, look, this I measured this, and this is how you can go do it too. It's repeatable. You get the same, conclusions. It's like it's irrefutable, scientific, you know, empirically measured shit. Okay, so and if you can't really get your hands on that kind of data, where it's like where you can go prove it to yourself, then you are kind of stuck having to take somebody else's word for it, which is a dangerous position to be in. Really, I mean, it depends how much you care, I guess, but for what it's worth, if like we're living in a completely different realm than what's been explained, where it's like this haphazard like universe where we're just in this galaxy, and this solar system and everything's flying around, whipping around at all these crazy speeds. It's all relative or whatever. We're just so small, and it's just for because of our size, it's so gradual that we can't ever really measure it or feel it. But it's happening, because it must be. But like that is just story time, really. I mean, it could be true. If all the stories they're telling are true, then it's true. Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay. I can follow you with that logic. If all the stories are true, then it must be true. Well, that's true. But there's a big if there. Like if you're not busy witnessing it and you can't go and measure it, well, you have to be real with it, and just be like, okay, that's a situation that it's at least worth raising an eyebrow over, like. Yeah, they have all the space agencies and all this shit going on with space travel and all the satellites and fucking spaceships and stations, but like that's Yeah, I mean, just because you can put something up in the sky, it's still, I mean, if you got something up in the sky that's taking pictures of all this motion and you can see all the upside down people on the other end of the earth, there'd be some stuff that I'd kind of want to be able to witness, sink my teeth into, where I feel like, okay, now I've done proved, that what I've been taught is absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. That must be what the place is that we're living. But just to accept it, like if you were, if they didn't educate you with this supposed knowledge of the earth, and if they waited until your brain was fully like capable of actually analyzing all the information that goes into the conclusion that they've come to, which is the globe model of Earth and the heliocentric model, where we're orbiting the sun on an elliptical orbit, where it does speed up a little bit. It has to, because we're chasing the sun. The sun's actually in motion, moving like some 500,000 miles an hour or whatever through the galaxy, dragging the solar system along with it, Earth included, and we're orbiting the sun while that sun's flying, moving through this vacuum, this frictionless void, and it's whipping us around. This big, huge Earth is huge, right? It's whipping us around, and like a bunch of other big bodies, spherical bodies that are, some of are just made of gas or whatever, I guess. But those are places that none of us have been to. We've seen pictures of them, or like movies and drawings and whatever. But like it's a lot going on. It's a lot to swallow, and it's like it's pretty bleak, really. It's just like, so what in the fuck? It's abstract as hell, and it's not really something that you're busy experiencing. Although it does seem like that when you've had it all hammered in your head as a kid. We're like the planets, and like on your little mobile above your bed while you're sleeping, and the sun, we're going around the sun, and like I used to think that was cool. I was all about it. I was like, I knew all that information. I've been taught all that information. It's not like I'm not privy to that information, but then when the whole flat Earth conversation came up, I was like, oh, haha, that's stupid. Like anybody did. I'm just another guy. But then I realized I'm not just another guy. I can actually change my mind about things. Because then I was like, well, this is crazy. But the thing is, once I could tell my brother, who's incredibly smart, and he's like the genius in our family. I mean, we all say that. I mean, he's like, he's a software engineer, and he's really successful with his intellectual endeavors. I mean, he's like, he can sit here and explain to you how to build a computer from the ground up. Like, I'm talking about like every step of the way. Like, there's a lot of knowledge in that guy's brain. He's my younger brother, and I feel sort of stifled by his brilliance. But just to put it, it's just like, I'm just giving you an idea how I see my brother and how all the people around him see him. He's quite intelligent, and he's got a good grip on things, and he understands logic. And when I saw that he was mentioning some of the flat Earth stuff, and I was like, really? And he turned me on to Owen Benjamin, and I started watching Owen Benjamin. Right, it was right at the time Owen Benjamin was getting into flat Earth. It was like 2018 or like 2017 or 18, I think. It was a while ago now, but like I feel like I've been in it for a long time now. But it's like he was getting dragged into flat Earth, kicking and screaming, like he didn't want to go. He didn't want to be a flat earther, but he was just looking for truth, and like he was showing some video by Taboo Conspiracy. Ben, I love that guy. He became my, like, as soon as I saw that video that he was Owen Benjamin was showing Taboo Conspiracy's video, and it was just, I loved something about Ben, the guy who's the Taboo Conspiracy guy, and whatever, it's his channel, Taboo Conspiracy. I think it's Taboo Conspiracy 2 or 3 now. But if you look it up, you'll find him if you don't know what I'm talking about. He's got a really charming personality. Like, I just love the way he talks, and the way his presentations are just so it's just so matter of fact and just so good. He's got such a charm to him. And then when I finally saw him on screen too, and I just saw his whole demeanor and his charisma that he has, I just felt so like it is kind of like where you get there's certain personalities that they'll help draw you into certain ideas. That's not always the best situation. I mean, but like, nonetheless, it was that he was so adamantly seeking truth, and he was just, he had a certain, like, he had a certain sort of spunkiness to him in regards to like NASA and all the fakery, and I was just becoming hip to all that when he was. I mean, I've always thought the moon landing seemed pretty crazy to me. I was always like, I don't know about that. You hear about the moon landing being a hoax. You don't have to go deep into conspiracy world to know about that idea. The fact that a lot of people think it's a hoax or whatever. That's pretty mainstream, because it's a pretty bold claim. It's a pretty grandiose claim. Oh, we went to the moon, and like just really when you think about it and you go watch the moon landing, whatever videos that are available that NASA has or whatever, it's just like, dude, it doesn't seem real. Like, I mean, if just if you really think about the massive achievement that is, to go to the moon and land on the moon and safely, find your way back home and just without dying, and this, you travel like 250,000 miles to get there. You leave our atmosphere behind for 3 days. You're just watching the Earth shrink as you fucking leave into this void of darkness and aiming for the moon where there's no atmosphere. You're not gonna be able to breathe. There's no air anywhere between there. You left that precious air atmosphere behind, and you can see it fading in the distance. You're going thousands of miles per hour every second. We're just leaving our lovely home behind. You got all this liquid oxygen on board your little spaceship, and you're in there with two other dudes in this cramped little tin can. And just every second that passes, you're just moving thousands of miles away from home, and you got this liquid oxygen in there that you have to, it's there's a mechanism that aerates it or whatever the word is. It turns it into breathable air, but it's pure oxygen, mind you. You can't breathe pure oxygen for 6 days straight. You'll be dead before that happens. But apparently, the way they get around that, I'm just like, I'm not that widely researched into it, but that always made me wonder. I'm like, how do they breathe? What was the? Because I know you can't bring that many tanks of oxygen on board. I mean, for 6 days. I mean, like a scuba diving. I mean, it's like you can only be down for so long. It's like you would have to bring a lot of tanks. They brought liquid oxygen, and then they had machines on board that made it into breathable air. Because it was condensed, so that way they could bring a bunch of oxygen and have air to breathe the whole time. But air on demand. They had air to spare. They just didn't care. They had plenty of air. There was air everywhere up in there. But so here's how they got around that whole thing where, like, if you breathe pure oxygen for 6 days straight, you won't even make it 6 days, you'll die. You can't do that. But here's what they said. Well, we just reduced the oxygen to a really low pressure in the cabin. That way, not much of the oxygen was making it into their lungs. So that way, they weren't overdosing on it. Like if you have pure oxygen and you're breathing it at the regular pressure that like because the air what we breathe is like it's a mixture of gases. There's only so much oxygen that's in the air that we're breathing daily, and it's the right mixture or whatever. But like if you go to the oxygen bar or whatever and you breathe pure oxygen, you're not going to be sitting there for 6 days breathing that pure oxygen. You'd be dead long before that. And they tell you, you got to cut yourself off. I mean, it's like my point being, like, it's pretty well understood that you can't breathe pure oxygen for that long. But apparently, like, according to NASA, they just reduced that to a really low pressure, and it was just that's all they had. They didn't bring an air mixture. It was just oxygen that they aerated or whatever, and they reduced it to a really low pressure, so not much of the oxygen was making it into their lungs. So that way, they never breathed in too much to where. But I'm just thinking, like, well, so they weren't short of breath? I mean, like, so we don't need like hardly any oxygen. I mean, that just seems weird to me. And I never heard anybody really like try to debate that or like try to you know provide any kind of examples where that's obviously something you can do. I mean, other than the moon landing itself, but like to just breathe pure oxygen for 6 days straight at a really low pressure, and it's just like how it is right now. Like there's nothing different about it. Like you just feel like you're just breathing normal air. I don't know if that's really what. I don't know. It's kind of shit like that where you just have to take their word for it. I guess it's true. It seems like a pretty bold lie to tell if it's not true. But regardless, so they didn't worry about the air. That whole thing was dealt with. But they had to transfer into the limb, and leave the orbiter and go down to the moon. So there was moments where they had to like depressurize or whatever and get in their spacesuits that could have never been tested in the environment by a human that they were going to go use them in. because that's how you would. We can't recreate those conditions, that they claim, that the moon's near vacuum. We can't recreate that condition here on Earth in order to test the equipment. It's just all math, and they did apparently send some. They had runs that they went out prior, but like whatever. We're supposed to believe they had all this stuff all tested. All it was all perfect. Their spacesuits. They tested them in a vacuum chamber here on Earth before they left, but no, nobody's ever gotten in a vacuum chamber with a spacesuit on, and that's some pretty good technology if they can really do that. And like that's something I would expect to see a lot more evidence of, where they would showcase that technology. I mean, the spacesuits are pretty impressive. It's a fully pressurized suit that'll keep you safe in a near vacuum. A near vacuum, whenever what it does to things that have air in them, like our bodies or a spacesuit, it it blows it up. It explodes it. It pulls the air out of it. Like it's a dangerous situation to be in a near vacuum, and you need to have proper protection. And I'm not even sure if such thing really exists. I mean, a near vacuum or a proper protection for one. I do understand there's a pressure gradient, and like with just understanding that like the air thins out the further up you go. I mean, eventually there won't be oxygen to breathe. I mean, at least that'll be absent, but I don't know that means it's a vacuum necessarily. It just means that there's no oxygen. I mean, or there's no air to breathe or whatever, but there's other stuff. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I've never been all the way out there. But I do know that you kind of need the atmosphere in order to like the aviation that we understand. We need air to push off of it. But that's why rocket science is, that's where you got to be a rocket scientist to really start explaining how they actually like claim to be like propelling themselves through a near vacuum without any air to push up thrust off of. And it's like you can't even light a match in a vacuum. There's no like flame thrusters. It's like a whole different situation in a near vacuum. It's a frictionless environment. You can get out of your spaceship going 25,000 miles per hour and do a spacewalk, and it's no thing. You get back in your ship, because it's friction. I don't know, dude. That's what they had to do on the way back from the moon. But I'm still like getting to the moon here. Like they make it out to the moon. They're like fucking 230 something miles from 237,000 miles from home. Earth is like this little blue dot in the background. Now they got it. Two of the guys, they got to part ways from one of the guys that's going to be in the orbiter that's going to be orbiting the moon the whole time that they go down to the moon and the lunar lander, that thing with the thin walls and the little fucking skinny little plastic looking legs. They claim to have like dropped out of the orbiter at like fucking 9,000 miles per hour and descended down to the moon in that little fucking flimsy looking thing. Those little skinny legs. Just coming down for landing. They had, I guess it had good thruster brakes or whatever. They managed to get they never actually flown it in that condition situation before. They've flown, whatever the like simulations back at home, but they never actually been in the real situation having to do that. But they pulled it off. They landed on the moon. The Eagle has landed. They have to put on their spacesuits. We're gonna go out walk on the moon. I mean, can you imagine the and just the intense, the sheer like I mean, going and climbing El Capitan or climbing, the building or whatever, and like doing some fucking crazy ballsy, that shit's equally scary to me. Like, it's scary. It's just something that's like, you know, people can do it and they do it casually and they'll go out there and they risk their life. And it's just like, but they're not even worried about it. They just do it. They're just so brave. And so it's like, no thing. I'm just going to go climb El Capitan. I'm going to go climb this fucking building, just freehand, that dude. And it's like, I don't know what possesses people to do that. I mean, it scares the shit out of me, and it impacts my my spirit. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that somebody did that. That is just so. It makes me just cringe. It's so intense, but it's amazing, and so my mind is boggled. It's not like I'm upset about it. It's just like it's kind of disturbing. I'm just like, wow, I can't. I'm really empathetic, like in the sense where like I see something intense, like I'm immediately like I feel like I'm in that person's shoes all of a sudden. I just I just get my butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, how is he doing that without just fucking so casually? That it's just insane. But that's, so these guys that make it to the moon, it's the same kind of thing. They're just so casual. But it's like, climbing a building and risking your life here on Earth. It's like, it's equally as stifling for me mentally. Like, I can't even believe people do that. But going to the moon, like, you've left all the comforts of home behind. Like the atmosphere, and what you normally would call like your weight or your gravity or whatever you people want to call it, just the orientation that you've experienced your whole life, where you know how to get around, and it's like where all that shit is just all different now, and there's no atmosphere, and you got to be like protected from this harsh environment. The temperatures are really extreme, and there's the near vacuum. It's like, if you ever seen what happens to things in vacuum chambers, like water boils, like, and they suck the air off, the water boils off, it's gone. And fucking, like in the vacuum chamber, they'll have like there's certain things they'll do to demonstrate what the vacuum chamber, it's like they'll put the little glove on the where thing inflates and pops or whatever. It's like, you know anything that's got air in it is going to combust. Like a Coke can or whatever in a vacuum chamber, the thing's gone, dude. It blows up or it implodes or whatever. It doesn't maintain. It collapses, because the near I guess the air is just like, it's it's not like it's sucking, but it's more of just like when I mean, you don't realize how much having air pressure, like the importance of it, and like what the results of that being removed, how that affects the things that we are made of. I mean, it's not child's play, man. Like, to be in a near vacuum, I mean, it's not something you want to fuck with, dude. Like I said, water boils in a, like, do you want your saliva to boil? Like, do you want your body to implode? I mean, it would be a mess, dude. It would be gruesome, especially on live TV all over the world. But like, let's just put that aside. Like, their spacesuits didn't fail, fortunately, but they just went out there and took that risk. But like, they knew they're real good engineering, and they didn't have a hint of nervousness the whole time. They were so relaxed, singing songs, having fun, running around, goofing off, just being silly. Like, it was like a day at the beach, playing, having fun. But I can't. It just seems kind of strange that. But I do have to consider that there's people like these guys that'll climb the building or the El Capitan and just do some amazing feat, with no ropes or any safety, and it's like, it just boggles your mind that somebody would be able to go take that risk and just do it, pull it off so casually. So I could accept that that's a real thing, and so maybe that's what's going on with those guys. But I do find it odd that when they made it back home safely from all that, they left the moon, met up with the orbiter, it got all fucking squared away, and then, slingshot off the moon's gravity, whatever they say, and then fucking it's another 3 days sitting in that tin can until you get back to the Earth. And then you got to, re-entry, where it's like things all incinerate upon re-entry. It's like, because they're going so fast and everything catches on fire and burns, and it's gone, it's ashes, it's just 25,000 miles per hour, things just fry. That's why, you see like meteors, like flame, it's like, things just become incinerated upon re-entry, and so it's like, well, how are we gonna, what's gonna happen to us? Well, yeah, you'd incinerate if their story was true, but not if you have a fancy dancy heat shield on. You're all set, buddy. Because all that incineration stuff I was talking about, you don't got to worry about that when you got a fancy dancy NASA heat shield. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Starting to feel pretty lonely here. The Bluetooth is on again. Oh no, not connected. I don't want to be connected to Bluetooth. Well, if my show is just like a dud and you can't even hear what I'm saying, I hope somebody would have been kind enough to leave a chat. Is anybody gonna stop by tonight? I've been going for a half hour and I haven't seen one. I think maybe I'm not really part of any community because people just like it's so weird. Like, I'm just like, I'm not asking for much. Just want a little Tell me if you can hear me at least, because sometimes I watch my own shows, and I'll be like, dude, there's no volume. I wish somebody would just say something. Am I that awkward? I mean, or is it just that boring where you can't just like say, yeah, I can hear you. You're cool. Continue doing your thing or whatever. I mean, I'm just asking some really simple questions, and like I just want to get some answers. Can you hear me? Is anybody in there? Yes, that is fuck. See, there is somebody that cares out there. Animal 26 at 98. Animal 2698. Shout out to Animal 2698. I appreciate that, my friend. Maybe I'll play a song since I know there's sound. You travel in full circle on a sound. Sound is like a circle. It circles back around. It surrounds you. It's a round sound. It's a circle. It's a sound. Together you offer a round of applause. Could use a nice round of getting down, going around right about now. If I don't mind saying so myself. It all happens so fast. First you laugh, and next thing you know, everyone claps. It's the end of the show. You're just supposed to know where your hands go. It all happens so fast. First you laugh, and next thing you know, everyone claps. It's the end of the show, and you're just supposed to know where your hands go. Together you offer a round of applause. It's a round of applause. It's a circle of a sound. It's the sound of a circle as it circles back around. It's the circle of a sound that surrounds you. The circle of a sound that surrounds you. It's the circle of a sound that surrounds you. Surrounds. It's the circle of a sound. You've been circling, circling around. Full circle on a sound. Circling and circling around. Full circle on a sound. On a ring that rings in a ring till it brings you back around. Full circle on a sound. Skipping to the beat of a redundant drum that comes in on the one and the offbeat due to the continuum being ripped. It repeats and repeats and repeats and re-repeats. Repeats and repeats and re-repeats. Repeats and repeats and re-repeats. Until I have each nuance interpreted in a response that is quite clever. You might see me and say whatever, but I'm on my way to break the record. The best way to break to a broken record. It's like skipping to a broken record. Skipping record. It's like a skipping broken record. Skipping to the beat of a broken record. I'm just breaking to the beat of a broken beat and breaking to the beat of a what? You might see me and say whatever, but I'm on my way to break the record. The best way to break to a broken record. That's right. To a broken record. You might see me and say whatever, but I'm on my way to break the record. The best way to break to a broken record. It's like skipping to a broken beat, beating to skipping record, skipping to the broken record. It's like skipping to the beat of a redundant drum. That's it. Skipping to the beat of a redundant drum that comes in on the one and the offbeat due to the continuum being ripped. It repeats and repeats and re-repeats. Well, I'm gonna take this common conundrum. It's a common conundrum. It's a common conundrum that we're all under. It's a common conundrum that we're all under. Take this common conundrum that we're all under. Become someone of wonder. A common conundrum that we're all under. Become someone of wonder. Common conundrum that we're all under. Take a common conundrum that we're all under. Become someone of wonder. Take a common conundrum that we're all under. Become someone of wonder. When I'm done here, I wonder what I would have done here if I hadn't have been someone who wondered. Coming full circle on a sound. On a ring that rings and a ring till it brings you back around. Full circle on a sound. It all happened so fast. At first you laugh, the next thing you know, everyone claps. It's the end of the show when you're just supposed to know where your hands go. Together you offer a round of applause. It's a circle of a sound. It surrounds you. It's found you. The circle of a sound that has found you. It astounds. The circle of a sound that astounds you. It's found you. It circles back around and surrounds you. I don't know. Whatever. I'm still working on that one. It's like, but the monotony gets fucking obnoxious to me. Makes me. No, it goes. The monotony gets fucking obnoxious to me. Makes me nauseous, like an overcautious agnostic in a posh mosh pit. He's lost it. Like an overcautious agnostic in a posh mosh pit who gets accosted when he's lost it. And, like an overcautious agnostic in a posh mosh pit. The fuck does that mean? Can you imagine like a posh mosh pit? Everybody's all snooty. I like the posh mosh pit. I thought I woke up somebody, but looks like they're just letting the cat out. I was all quieting down. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just being a weirdo in the middle of the night. Like an overcautious agnostic in a posh mosh pit who gets accosted when he's lost it. But watch this shit and take a nice common conundrum. Alright, I'm tired of that song. I'll play a different song. What should I call that song? The sound of a circle? Circling sounds. Once upon a bent space and time where you can curve in a straight fucking line and put a dumb idea in your mind and think it's true. You think that it's true. Once upon a bent space and time. Once upon a time, happily ever after. The end. That's the whole story right there. I'm running behind. I'm running behind. I'm running behind, but still running slower than most. But you see, I like to coast. It's just easier on my mind. It's easier on my mind. I'll always know the answer. It's the question that was harder to find. But I know it will resurface. I can feel it creeping back into my mind. I can feel it creeping back into my mind. Feel it creeping back into my mind. I feel it creeping in the nick of time, but there's no such there's no such thing as coincidence. It's just easier for you to dismiss that way. But maybe it was meant to be. Happily ever after. Once upon concern you, nothing to keep you awake at night. It once upon a time there was nothing to worry your mind, nothing to concern you, nothing to keep you awake at night. Happily ever after. Once upon a time. There was nothing to worry your mind, nothing to concern you, nothing to keep you awake at night. I'm running behind. I keep thinking there's a cigarette behind my ear. I keep psyching myself out. Oh, there's one right here, though. Sweet. That's where that went. You're listening to the original music of Dr. Bass Ackwards. I'm not actually Bass Ackwards, though. The thing is, I'm straightforward. It's just the rest of the world is Bass Ackwards. So therefore, I'm Bass Ackwards, I guess. It's just because everybody else is so Bass Ackwards, and I'm the one who's straightforward, so I look like I'm Bass Ackwards. You get it? You get the point I'm making? And it's just like has been my disposition my whole life. It's not my real name, no, but that's you are your name, you know what I mean? You got to live into something. Like I've just been running against the grain ever since the day I came into this place. I can't help but do that. It's just what I do, just for good measure, you know. I just keep on running against the grain. That's my name. It's my claim. Just running against the grain. That's right. That's a song I always sing. I've just been running against the grain. I've been running against the grain. I've been running against the grain since the day I came along, and I'll be running against the grain till my dying day. I'll just be running against the grain. Well, I claim the grain is running the wrong way. I'm just running against the grain, running against the grain, running against the grain. Yeah, but when you run against the grain, it causes friction. You know that friction starts to burn. And when it burns, you know what's gonna happen. That's when this place is going up in flames. At the end of the game, end of the game, at the end of the game, I still be running against the grain. Still be running against the grain. I still be running against the grain. And I've been running against the grain to my dying day. Now I claim the grain is running the wrong way. But when you run against the grain, it causes friction, and you know that friction starts to burn. When it burns, you know what's gonna happen. That's when this place is going up in flames. At the end of the game. End of days, at the end of the game, and I'll still be running against the grain. I'm watching y'all circling the drain. I see you circling the drain. So you just going down, baby. Going down the trail. Should do like a whole verse where it's like, I see you circling the drain. You'll just be circling the drain till you die in day. Rip Van Winkle. You think that's kind of funny? His first name is Rip Van Winkle. It's like, rest in peace, Rip. Rest in peace there, Van Winkle. For 20 years, he slept half his life away. The poor guy. What a shame. Can you imagine just waking up and being like, oh, I just done slept off half my life. Oh, fuck. It's kind of metaphorical. Rest in peace, Van Winkle. Van Winkle. A winkle in time. He just ripped in peace. Ripped his Van Winkle in time. Whatever. It does make sense. I think so. Let's name him Rip. Rip Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle. A Winkle Tinkle. Alright, that's enough Rip Van Winkle talk. I don't know why I'm even talking about that. Rip. Rest in peace, Van Winkle. Obama had to drop a lot of bombs. He dropped a lot of bombs. Obama had to drop a lot of bombs. He had to bomb Iraq. Barack had to bomb Iraq. Barack bombed Iraq. Barack Obama had to drop a lot of bombs. He bombed Iraq to get Saddam Hussein, who's so damn insane. We'll show him who's so damn insane. Damn, Hussein's his damn middle name. Barack Hussein Obama had to drop a lot of fucking bombs. He bombed Osama. He had to bomb Osama. Obama bombed Osama. He had to drop a lot of bombs on Osama. He had to go get Osama, the bad guy, Obama. He dropped a lot of bombs on Osama. Rest in peace, Osama. Obama had to drop a lot of bombs. Barack, he had to bomb Iraq to get Saddam Hussein, who's so damn insane. We showed him who's so damn insane. Damn, Hussein's his damn middle name. Barack Hussein Obama had to drop a lot of fucking bombs. He bombed a llama one time on accident. Whoops. He didn't care. He just dropped bombs everywhere. He's like, let's go get these guys. We're gonna win a Nobel Peace Prize. We drop a lot of bombs. Obama had a bomber-rama. He dropped so many bombs. He bombed his mama. He bombed Osama. He bombed Iraq and bombed Barack. Bombed Iraq to get Saddam Hussein. His damn middle name is Hussein. Barack Hussein Obama had to bomb Osama. Had to bomb Osama. He dropped a lot of bombs. It was a bomber-rama. Rest in peace, Osama. Osama. Up on the world stage, it's just another page of the book. It's a long-winded play. It's been playing out for a long time. The history books were written before any of it ever happened, if it happened at all. Yeah, we live in a pre-written, predicted, scripted, actor-based reality taking place on your TV. And the useful idiots that get up on the television telling you what they want you to believe is happening in the world as it plays into their dirty little hands. And it's over before it began. That's right. You get better and better at being able to spot all the holes in the plot. And there's usually a lot if you're catching all the clues that can be caught. In the weaponized news, you'll see right through the ruse, where others are confused, manipulated, and used, being driven by their manic and misguided fears. If it's a whole different story for you, it's crystal clear. Once you learn to read the writing on the wall, it's been written by the hidden hand. And it's over before it began. Over before it began. Was over before it began. Was over before it began. Fucking over before it began. Whatever. That song was over before it began. By me. Well, 9/11 came and went, and all the money got spent, and the laws were bent, and we never got a story that made any sense. Well, there's a terrorist attack and all that, where 2 planes knocked 3 buildings down right to the ground flat. Faster than you could clap your hands a dozen times. 110-story building fell before your eyes twice. And let's not forget Building 7, the 47th floor building where something quite peculiar happened as it collapsed in the exact same fashion. However, it was strange because it wasn't hit by planes. Until this day it remains yet to be explained. But you're never gonna hear anyone up on the television just be like, hey, wait. 2 planes, 3 buildings. Please explain. I don't understand. There wasn't any fucking planes, man! It was over before it began. It was over before it began. It was all just part of a big dumb plan. It was over before it began. It played out like a Hollywood jam. I don't know. It was retarded. It was real. It's real. Is real. Is real. Is real. The fakest place on earth is real. The fakest place on earth is real. Israel. Actually, it's not Israel. It's Israel. Israel. Is the sun God? Israel. Is the sun God? I don't think so. I think God made the sun. I think God gave birth to a son. No, I think God gave birth to the earth. Then the earth gave birth to a son right there from the navel of the earth. That's when it begun. The navel of the earth gave birth to a son. A son, that's right. And then the sun begun to spin around, circled around, and that sun was the source of soul. The sun is the source of soul, the soul, S-O-L, the soul source is where we source our souls from, the sun. That's why every soul that's spawned on earth has a sunspot where its soul used to be. There's a little black spot on the sun today. That's where my soul was up there. And so every soul that's spawned is drawing their soul right from source, leaving a sunspot. The soul source, the sun is the soul source that was spawned from the soul source, spawned from the earth. That's why we got to keep this all. It's all coherent. No, there's some cohegence. It's conjecture. I knew there was some kind of word there. I'm making it up. Okay, so the earth gave birth to a son from the navel of the earth. That's when this whole thing begun. I'm writing a poem. It's a song. The earth gave birth to a son. It sprung forth from the navel of the earth, right there where the whirlpool is in the middle. That's where the earth gave birth to a son. There wasn't all this water here before. Because when you see something that gives birth, the earth is alive. It's like an animal. So when the earth gives birth to its son, the water breaks and it floods the realm. The sun springs up into the sky and activates, breaks off its umbilical cord, and it's like, ta-da! And that's when all the souls start spawning out of the sun, and the whole thing starts. But like all that water, it's interesting because salt water bears a striking resemblance to amniotic fluid that is in your womb while you're, in your first stages of your life. And so when a son is born and the water breaks, it would be similar to what the ocean is. And I believe we're on our second sun. And I think that's why there's a lot of second sun, like occult knowledge. There's like these secret societies in schools where it's, ancient mystery, mystic schools or whatever. It's like, I've heard talk of the second sun being a thing and all that. And I don't know what they mean by that. But there's also the black sun. They talk about that too. But I think we're on our second sun here, according to my story that I'm making up. Okay, this isn't science, but I do use science to help support my story, though. So just be prepared for that. So the sun was born from the navel of the earth, right there in the middle, where it broke off its umbilical cord and activated, went up in the sky, and began spawning souls. The water broke through, that all this water comes into the earth. All this water didn't used to be here. You can find fully constructed cities that were like 7,000 feet below the surface of the water, and they're all perfectly like level how they were built. Like that water didn't used to be there. It didn't come from the sky. It doesn't rain salt water. So we need to explain some of these things. Where did it all come from? Anyway, um, if we're on our second sun, that was two waters that it broke that we know of for sure. Because I believe that the first sun spawned all its souls, and they all went to heaven. That's what all the stars are. But if the sun spawns all its souls, then it loses its life source. It goes dark, and the Earth has to give birth to a new sun. But that old sun is still up there, and it just isn't alive anymore. It just lost its source of souls, and it spawned all its souls out. They all went to heaven. So it went dark, and it became cold immediately and hardened. The sun is made of this plasma substance. We don't go up there and take samples of it, but it's this plasma type substance. So when it goes cold, it's not just like ordinary plasma. It's like there's a substance to it. It's got some material and matter to it. So when it hardened like that immediately after it went dark, it got cold and hardened, solidified. The spots on the surface where all the bubbling, all the hot plasma was popping and bubbling. Everywhere there was a little bubble, a little inconsistency in the surface where there's little bubbles popping, then it solidified. Well, now there's this big spherical frozen plasma thing up in the sky, and it's got all these little craters all over it where all these little bubbles are popping. And it's just this image that's frozen in time. It's like it looks like this old weathered thing. It's like it's been up there for a long time. It looks like it used to serve some other purpose. It's like this dead. It looks like the Death Star. You know what I mean? It's the moon, right? And so like the Death Star, right? The dead sun, the Death Star. It looks like the moon. It's like, okay, so the sun is on a yearly path that makes an analemma through the sky. It's like this figure eight. At the equator, it's an infinity symbol. It's a perfect. There's a there's an equal sized loop in the north and an equal sized loop in the south. Well, that's just the path of the sun. That's the analemma. I don't really know what. We just know that's the shape that it's moving through the sky. It's like sine waves, kind of. But it turns out that the moon has that same shape. Like the moon is up there doing that same shape. It's called the ephemeral, but it's making the same pattern in the sky. And so the moon has a path that is just like the sun's path. It's the same path. It's just it's an offset. It's on a different. So I think when a sun dies and solidifies, I think it slowly starts to lose elevation ever so slowly because it's not full of that. It doesn't have that life force pushing it. It's not interacting with the environment the same way as it was before. It's not full of electromagnetic. It doesn't have the same. So it starts losing elevations ever so slowly. So I think that would be a good explanation for why the moon is on a different cycle than the sun. But it's making that same path through the sky that the sun does. It's the ephemeral. The sun makes the analemma. It's the same exact path. It's the same shape. So here's this thing that's in the sky, right? It's we all know what the sun's purpose is. We can see what the sun's doing, right? That's pretty obvious. It provides life and warmth, and according to my story, it's our source, our spark of life. It's our soul, that energy that's given to us, upon birth, upon conception, or whatever. It's a spark of life. It's energy. It can be witnessed. It's a light. Where else would you draw it from? It comes right from source. I don't know how that transpires, but I know that life is energy. It's light. It's visible. You can see it. So it's spawning from the sun. That's why I see sunspots, because the souls are coming out of the sun, or spawning on Earth. based on how things transpire after you leave your vessel. I mean, you go back to you can go to heaven or you go back to source, whatever. However, I don't know how that all transpires, but it's like energy, transmission, energy exchange. That's what this is all about. And so once the sun dies and it goes cold, there's like a miniature ice age that takes place, but the Earth gives birth to a new sun almost, pretty much right away. And so it's like, so the old dead sun is still up there floating around. It's made of the stuff that suns are made of, right? This plasma stuff or whatever. Got covered with little craters where it was all popping and plasma bubbling before it hardened. And and the thing is, when the new sun shines on it, it's made of the same stuff that suns are made of. It can absorb that light now, and it'll cause it to glow. It'll, it's temporary, but however the sun is hitting it, it'll absorb that light and it'll glow after the sun moves on. And the dead sun's up there. Now it's glowing, kind of like it used to, but not nearly as bright. But bright enough to where it'll illuminate the earth. And unlike the sun's light that causes warmth and growth and, life, this dead sun's light, when it's shining on the earth, it's just, it's borrowed from the sun. It's absorbed the sun's light. It's shining, but its light is cold because it's dead. And the dead sun's light is cold, and it causes decay. It actually speeds up the decaying process. The moon is about death. It's a dead sun. Its light tells you that. It's cold and it causes decay. The sun's light is warm and it creates life, growth. The dead sun, the moon, does the opposite. That's science. That's all true, right? I just said, but now, you don't have to think it's a dead sun if you don't want, but that's what my story that I'm telling you, my interpretation of the cosmos. Not only am I trying to make the point that it's possible that we just make up our own story about what we're looking at, but I'm also trying to make the point that, like, I'm clever enough to write a better story that explains what the stars are, explains what the sun is, explains what the moon is, explains why there's ancestors of ours on Earth that remember a time when there was no moon, explains where all the oceans came from, explains what the sunspots are, explains what the craters are on the moon, explains, why the moon glows and fucking. I want to come up with an explanation for all the stuff that we still don't have good explanations for. So my story that I'm making up, you know, it's I'm making it up with the intention of, like, answering some of these questions that, just because the moon is so mysterious, like, what is it doing? The sun, it's obvious what its purpose is, but what the fuck is the moon for? Just part of the clock? I mean, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to the story. I mean, it looks like it's been up there a while. I mean, it looks old, like it used to do something else. And it's the same size as the sun. It's doing the same thing as the sun. I mean, it's not like a stretch to consider the possibility that maybe it just used to be a sun, you know? That's why it glows like one, but it's not alive anymore. It's dead, and that's why its light that it borrows from the sun is cold, because it's dead and it causes decay. It's part of the process here, but it's like, I think the moon is just a dead sun. I think it's eventually going to crash into the earth, but it's just like this big hollow plasma ball, this plasma moon, right? Like when you see a sunspot, you can see inside the sun. It's dark, it's hollow on the inside. And they say the moon is hollow. That's what science has toyed with that idea, and they call it the plasma moon. Back in the 60s, they're saying it's made of plasma. I'm not the first person, I think, to like toy with this idea, but or maybe I'm the one who's written the most of a storyline to go along with it. But like, I'm just making these ideas up mostly. I've never heard any like mainstream discussion along the lines of the moon being dead sun. But I remember there was that dude that was talking about the moon being plasma, and that goes right along with my story. And also, what was interesting when I was writing my story, I've said this before on my show, but I was talking about it. I was writing down the part about this. I was writing like a story in a book, and I was writing down the part about our souls being drawn from the soul, the SOL, the sun, the source of souls, and when every soul that's spawned leaves a sunspot, and I was writing all that down in my book, And then a show came on. I had YouTube playing in the background. It was in my feed. I didn't choose the show, but it was a show that was chosen for me. It was perfect because it was this guy, as a scientist, that was talking about the lack of sun. This is back in like 2023 or 4. It was a few years ago, but he was talking about the lack of sunspots during that time period, and he was like, "There hasn't been this few sunspots in a long time." He's all going off on it, and he's like, "It's really weird. We don't know." He's all concerned, and I'm like, and I had just been watching a show earlier that day because everybody was all freaking out about the jabs, and it was like the birth rate worldwide had gone down drastically. Like the birth rate had been had reduced drastically worldwide. It was like kind of a thing that was being unspoken about in the mainstream media, but people were talking about it in the alternative media. And I'd just been watching a show about it earlier that day where the birth rate had gone down drastically. And then the show comes on where this guy's talking about how the sunspots have gone down drastically. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. I just finished writing in my book here that the sunspots are the result of souls being spawned on Earth. And if the birth rate has gone down, well, that would mean the sunspots would go down. So that ties that all together. Thanks. It's almost as if there was like some you know AI like scraping my mind or saw what I was writing and then just played the perfect video to like tie everything together that I'd been you know studying loosely that day and just a story that I was writing. I was like, that's kind of weird. It kind of just sort of felt like a little nudge from God. Keep going with your story. It's cool. It's a good story. Maybe it's true. I mean, there could only be however many suns down in the earth waiting to be born. But the thing is, I do believe when a sun is born, it breaks off an umbilical cord and it activates like those glow sticks. So here's something that we can see, and there's evidence of this. If you go out next time you see the dead sun, which is the moon in the sky, you're probably going to need like a telescope, but I'll give you about 10 seconds to locate the moon's belly button. You'll find it right away. It's easy to find. You just have to know what you're looking for. Not that anybody's listening to me, but I just do this on the off chance that somebody might listen to it someday and be like, well, that's interesting. That's strange. Sounds like it might be true. But I'll give you 10 seconds to locate the moon's belly button. It's easy to find. It's that easy to find. You'll find it within 10 seconds. You just have to know that's what you're looking for. It has a belly button. And it's that observation that was what spawned my whole story that I made up. I'm like, why does the moon have a belly button? And then that whole story transpired. I made up this whole entire story and I explained the entire universe and everything in it. And I feel like I have a pretty good explanation for everything now. I mean, you know, God had to invent this. Basically, it's a clock. It's like God had to invent time for consciousness. God is consciousness. It's awareness or consciousness. We're all borrowing part of that God conscious, eternal, and it's maddening. You have to have time. You have to create something with time that's happening to give this consciousness to give anything significance. Like without time, nothing matters. Like there's no significance, and it's maddening. It's staring you in the face constantly. It's just this eternal consciousness. There's nothing. Without time, there's no reference. There's no nothing has any meaning. So God had to, consciousness had to create this realm that we exist in. This whole system, the Earth system, with the Earth heart, ether, theater, with the sun that gives birth from the Earth. It's all spelled out for us already. The navel of the Earth. These are terms that I didn't make up. I'm just drawing from pop culture and fucking my own creative. But it's interesting. The story kind of has been putting itself together in a way, and like I don't think the sun is God. Israel. I don't think the sun is God. I think God made all of it. So I'm not trying to say that the sun is the source of all. No, it's just the source of soul. But consciousness. I think that comes with soul. But like, I think your soul is like your time. Is like has to do with time. It's like consciousness with the addition of time. That's how your soul. You have an old soul or whatever. It's like I don't know how it all works, but I just know that consciousness. Just to finish my thought, what I was saying before my phone died was consciousness is meaningless without soul, and soul doesn't exist without time. And that's all for now.